Want to welcome everyone to this morning's committee meeting. Happy to be joined by my friend, Mr. Reyes. You keep your tradition alive, growing a beard after every break, and I'm jealous because I cannot do that.
It's a recess ritual.
It's okay. Anyway, so it's good to see you, and it's good to be back and meeting on a regular basis. We have several public comment cards, so I'll call forward Earl Vaughn, Jim Clark, Michael, I think it's Fairnick. Please come forward. I think it's Mr. Vaughn was first.
That is me.
Yes.
Good morning. How are you? Good morning. I am the president of AGLA, the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, which represents small owners in the city, of which I am one as well. I'm a volunteer. I'm not paid. And our board serves in that capacity for small owners around the city. We wanted to come and say that we are very concerned about the proposed reforms that are coming forward from this committee, I believe later in the month. And we want to make sure that you understand that our small owners are small business people. We are the definition of small business people in the city. Many of our owners have other jobs. They've invested in the city. And they could do a lot of other things with their money, but they chose to invest in apartments to better their family and their future. We come from all walks of life, all races, all ethnic creeds. I believe, Council Member, you have had a meeting with small owners in your district.
Yes, I am.
And we have tried to organize some of small owners in everybody's district. We would like to do it in your district as well, Councilman Reyes. In fact, I own a building in your district, a small building. And we want to make sure that you hear the voices of small owners in the city and how important this investment is to them, and how important it is that that when we roll out these reforms that we don't hurt/kill the apartment industry for small investors in the city, which is the majority of people here. I also wanted to say that while we were talking about the 3% floor during the time when we were discussing the rent freeze, that is a critical issue for our members, that they're able to at least recover some of their costs for our lower paying tenants, who we are already helping, and be able to just keep pace with some of our expenses, which, as you know, are rising at a great level each year. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And Mr. Vaughn, I did have a meeting, a very fruitful meeting with apartment owners, many of which were in my district. Some were sprinkled throughout the city of Los Angeles. It was it was a very good meeting. It was very informative. And as I had mentioned to Jim in the past, it makes a big difference when you can really put a face with, you know, a group of people. So I found it very, very enlightening, and I recommend that you try to meet with as many people as you can, if it's similar to the meeting that I had.
We have met with several council members already, and we look forward to doing more. Thank you.
Okay, good to meet you, sir. Jim Clark.
Thank you, Council Member, and thank you, Councilman Reyes, for being here. And I'm surprised that the committee isn't all together. But without repeating what Mr. Vaughn said, Jim Clark with the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles, we represent probably close to 25 to 30,000 members. And if you looked at the number of units that we represent, it's probably over 350,000, which is almost half the housing stock, rental housing stock in the city. So this issue coming to fruition at the end of this month is very, very important to us. I know that there's been a tight lid kept on what's going on over at LAHD and the mayor's office, so we're very, very anxious to see what comes out in the report. We understand it will be coming out soon, and so we're here to urge you to take a real good look, a thorough look at what's being recommended. We're encouraging you to bring us back to the table after it comes out, the tenants as well, but we want to see this report vetted very thoroughly, and so we can all come together with a fair modifications to the RSO, not only fair for us, but fair for the tenants, And that's all we ask for. We think that the pendulum has swung too far to one side. We'd like to see a balanced program out there. Again, I want to reiterate how important that 3% floor is to our members. The pass-throughs that might be being looked at as a trade-off to lowering that floor, we have documentation that shows these pass-throughs they're very, very difficult. They take too long to implement, and by the time you get them in place, half the tenants that would have been paying for the pass-throughs are no longer there. So pass-throughs to us are just not meaningful enough to give up that 3% floor. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. We've been joined by Council Member Jan Perry, so we have a quorum, and I believe you're up, Mr. Farinick.
Yes, sir. Good morning. My name is Michael Farinick. I'm the president of the California Apartment Association, and I also represent Starpoint Properties. CAA has about 75,000 units in the members in the city of Los Angeles. I want to give you guys a couple of really live issues that I'm faced with on a daily basis, bringing down to our level. Unfortunately, our workman's comp rates have gone up drastically the last year and a half. It seems like whoever we fire or whoever leaves our firm remembers that last year or the year before they hurt their back, they hurt their leg, so on and so forth. So we've just recently been dropped by our insurance company, Workman's Comp, and our rates have gone up about 20 to 25%. We've had to go to the state to get Workman's Comp insurance for our employees, and that's really hurting us in the short. Secondly, we provide health insurance. We believe that all of our employees are very important to us, and we have to provide health insurance to them. We don't allow our employees not to. We either one of their significant others, husband, wives, have to have health insurance for us to forego or pay them for the difference. Otherwise, we require employees to go with our health insurance. We want to take care of our employees. Recently, last month, we were told that our rates are going up by 18%, as far as health insurance is concerned. We've had to look around, and at this point, we are forced to go with a new program whereby we insure as we go. And if this new program does not work for us, we are going to go ahead and ask the employees to either contribute and/or drop the health insurance altogether. These are two real live examples of how our costs have gone up, and without this increase, as far as units are concerned, we are in deep, deep trouble. So please look at the lower level when you're looking at this issue. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you all. Okay, we've got, I think it's Ron Bodun, Kasha Wasiak, and Mark Wagner. Mr. Bodun.
That's me. Good morning. My name is Ron Bowden. I'm with Park La Brea Apartments and also a member of the Los Angeles Housing Council, which is a coalition of California Apartment Association, AGLA, and other business owners and organizations that are providing services and support to the apartment industry. We just here today to say we look forward to the recommendations for the reforms that are forthcoming and look forward to the conversations with you all for the changes that are necessary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mark Wagner, and I'm...
Mark, you're third.
Oh,
You jumped it. You cut in front of the young lady.
It's okay.
So that you just lost 50 seconds of your time. That's your penalty.
My name is Kasha, and I'm an apartment manager in the city of Los Angeles. I manage a building of 183 units, and I'm here to ask you to really do be fair and look at not being able to increase our residents who are actually paying way below market. That's a third of all the residents at the property. They're paying, in some cases, half of the rent of the other residents. We understand our residents. We actually happen to lower rents to some of the residents who are paying above market or close to market, or if they have financial issues. A lot of them are losing jobs, and we're just trying to be fair. Now, the really low-paying residents, they're in a high income bracket. They are making the money, and not being able to raise them, it really just it makes it really difficult for us to run a business and invest in expensive projects.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Wagner.
My name is Mark Wagner, and I supervise about 700 rent control units in the city of Los Angeles. And I just, first of all, want to make no mistake about it. We are still struggling. We saw a lot lower income in 2008 versus the previous year, 2009. And this year, every single one of our properties are earning less revenue than the year before. These are older buildings. They require a lot of maintenance versus brand new buildings. We have a lot of painting, a lot of, wood. All of this requires more, maintenance. We do have rising costs. Someone that spoke earlier suggested utilities, taxes are big ones. We provide benefits. We have full health insurance benefits. These costs are rising. We need that 3% floor. We also employ a lot of people in our own company. We also support a lot of vendors. We have already downsized, with the current economy, meeting our obligations, with the debt services on our properties, which are kind of sandwiched between our need to improve the properties and keep them up, as well as, employ people. And these are just a sizable amount of vendors that we support. I understand also that you are reviewing the pass-throughs. My understanding is that very few property companies use this. We just started using that, and the process is very onerous. I think whatever you do, the judge should be, how many properties are using this? If 1, to 5% of the properties are using this, it is not working. It's not used to the potential that it could be to stimulate properties, fixing up their properties and keeping them up.
Thank you. Thank you all. Next would be, I think it's Valerie Kuntz, Ryan Manar, and Khan Varnishon. Good morning.
Good morning. I supervise several hundred units under the RSO, and I am a regional supervisor for a company here in Los Angeles. And I have to tell you, the last 2 years has been very, very difficult. And the focus that I want to bring to the table today is just one thing, and that's jobs. I have had to reduce staff on all of the properties that I supervise, which is really a difficult job to do. You certainly don't want to take away someone's employment. But because of the economy, I have had to do that. In addition, when you do reduce your own employees and you have to shrink your budget, then you also impact all of the various jobs that our industry touches in the city of Los Angeles. And we touch painters, carpet companies, cleaning services. We touch suppliers like Home Depot and Lowe's. We touch security services, electricians, carpenters, all of our own employees. We touch lots and lots of jobs in this city. And when the business has shrunk, as it has, as my counterpart Mark Wagner talked to you about, our incomes have really reduced and our expenses have went up. Just utility expenses alone have been a huge impact. So I really ask you to look very, very carefully and be fair to every single stakeholder in regards to this RSO new proposals, because we really need a respectable floor that we can increase our rents and maintain our buildings. We take a great deal of pride and integrity on the housing that we offer, and we want to maintain it, but we also want to see the job losses stop. So I thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Manier. I'm the Executive Director of the Los Angeles Division of the California Apartment Association. Also here on behalf of the Los Angeles Housing Council, which is a coalition of California Apartment Association, AGLA, Central City Association, the LA Chamber, the Minority Property Owners Association, and others. We just wanted to be here today to represent all the people that are involved in the Los Angeles rental housing industry, including rental property owners, contractors, maintenance workers, residents, small business owners, taxpayers, and voters in the city. As we said, as you're here today, we just wanted to set the record straight on a couple issues, what's going on with RSO units, and later this month, and as we go forward the process, we'll share information about all the jobs that depend on the rental housing industry and the tax revenue generated to the city. Right now, we're doing an economic study on that, and we're looking at more than $150 million as going to the general fund to Los Angeles every year. So thank you to your time, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Khan Vornishung, and I work with Valerie and Mark, and I want to talk about the pass-throughs. I was asked to look into pass-throughs early this year in January, February, for a project that we completed on a property last year. It was for stucco improvement, repairs, and paint. Spent about $337,000 on the project. And I submitted a package to LAHD in February, and we got it approved and implemented in August. We spent that much money, and we were really only able to recover about $8.88 a unit. You know, really, that just took all that time. There were a lot of delays and a lot of things where I believe the code specifies that the approval process and the review process should take about 45 days or so. It took us over 5-6 months to get it approved and implemented due to the delays. We submitted an entire package. The application seemed simple enough, but just going through the process, it took a lot of time, and there were a lot of delays involved with it, just requirements, extra requirements imposed by LAHD. So all in all, I believe out of 317 apartments that we have there, we were only able to recover about $900 a month. You know, of course, most of the people, actually, someone did mention, most people do move out. You know, we turn about 40% of our apartments a year, and to invest in a major project like that and to go through this program, we need it to be more effective. And as experiencing it and going through it, it just took a long time, and the return was just not what we expected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Before I acknowledge Mr. Cardenas, I want to apologize. Mr. Cardenas has been here for at least 6 speakers, and I didn't say we were joined by Mr. Cardenas. Now, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, a clarification on the numbers. I was writing down some of your comments.
Sure.
You said that $337,000 of improvements were made to an apartment complex,
Right.
but you didn't say how many units.
We have 317 apartments.
317
In Los
apartment units.
Yes.
Okay? So basically what you're stating is that 317 units, $337,000. So it was just over $1,000 a unit was spent in renovations?
Right.
And then you said $8.88 was the adjustment. That's the monthly
That's correct.
rent adjustment?
That was what we got approved,
Okay.
to increase $8.88. And we were only able to impose that increase to 182 apartments,
Okay.
because those were the people that were actually there during the process. So if they moved in afterwards, when it was completed, we couldn't impose that to all the other apartments.
So, well, explain to me. I don't own apartments. So
Right.
what you're saying is, on the 182 units, you were able to raise them each $8.88 to recoup the investment per unit. But give me an example. If unit number 302 was not occupied and a new occupant, that means you had to rent it at the old rate and you couldn't adjust it $8.88, or you couldn't adjust it at all?
Couldn't adjust it at all.
Okay,
You know,
so if somebody
it
was
wasn't occupied,
at the time of the renovations, if it was vacant and somebody was paying $800 a month, right? And then somebody came after the renovations, you had to keep the rent at $800 a month. Not
no,
eight-
we could move it up to market, but we wouldn't be able to calculate in this cost recovery.
Okay, so you're not forced to leave it at the rate that the
No,
old
we're-
Johnson family had it before.
No,
You
we're-
are able to put it at market rate.
Yes, we are. And that market rate is really, you know, really low right now. and our occupancies are still,
But with all due respect, there's nothing that the council or this committee can do about market rate, right?
Right.
Okay. And then, one last question, Mr. Chairman. I just want to understand what your, really what your, all of your issues are that you're presenting to us. So, if you were able to move it up to the appropriate rate per unit to get the proper recouping of those investments, what would that have been? $15 a unit? $32 a unit?
Well, it's not only that, it took really a long time. You know, we turn a lot of apartments, but yes,
What
fairly,
took a long time? The process of the city?
the process of the city to approve the project, where it really states in the code, it states 45 days.
How long did it take?
Took about 6 months. Took a long time.
And it's supposed to take about 45 days?
Right,
Now, you didn't answer the question.
yes.
What was your target that you wanted to get per unit versus the $8.88?
Right, I think the max you can get is about $55 per the code, and we would like to achieve at least that.
Okay, so you were shooting for the max, which is $55 per unit, right?
55.
And you were shooting for that, and you got $8.88. Okay,
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you all for coming. That brings Tracy Shaviro, Phyllis Doherty, and Rick Arterstrom. Nice T-shirt, Rick.
I'll speak directly to that.
Soon.
Tracy.
Good morning, Tracy Shavira, Central City Association. Much of what I intended to say has already been said, so I'll be brief. I just wanted to highlight that RSO units are some of the oldest units in the city. And without the ability for property owners or apartment owners to increase rent slightly to make repairs and improvements, those repairs and improvements will not take place. And it'll be more costly in the long run for apartment owners to make those repairs and improvements. And in the end, it's the tenant who ultimately suffers. So I speak for CCA as well as VICA, who can be here this morning. When we ask that, when you look at the ordinance, if you please make meaningful changes that reflect today's real estate market, not that of 1 or 2 years ago. And as always, we'd like to offer our assistance in crafting an effective ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Hi, Phyllis.
Good morning. Phyllis Doherty. I represent the other end of the spectrum in that I only have 4 units. And I never intended to become rental owner, but I'm happy with it. I treat my tenants like family. They are family to me. They've been with me 13, 14 years. I've only raised rents once. I'm not making any money on them. I just want to keep the property. It's a safety thing. I'm in Echo Park. And these last young men that were just murdered on Union and Burlington and Union and Temple, I heard every shot that went into those, and so did my tenants. They had to drive to the floor the other morning when we had to drive by, and there were just 2 shots. I'm the only one that called it in. So I'm the type of person that is dealing out there with a small property, very old, costs a lot to keep them up, 1921, good fences to keep them safe. It's very, very hard. The one time I did have to raise the rent, it really helped because the taxes went up so much. $24 I raised the rent, but it helped me. So I'm really asking you also to consider that this is a wide spectrum of people. We do care. And I would love to buy more little buildings in the city, and I'm terrified. The minute I hear they're under rent control, I just can't do it because I can't afford it. So I want you to hear from the rest of us that this is what life is like. I need to mention very briefly another issue completely different. This motion to raise the number of animals to where you can have 5 dogs and 5 cats per property, how dangerous it will be to us in these communities. I have an issue next door where the lady has 5 dogs. My tenants want to move all the time, and I keep saying, wait a minute, there could be gang members. It could be a lot worse.
What about 4, Phyllis?
We really need to stay, and we really need to be, we have gotten to the point where we don't have the dog packs throughout our community. It's hard. We all work on it. So I want to beg you to please do not increase the number of animals. Let us stay where we are and work on enforcing the laws and keep everybody safe.
And you're a big animal person.
I am, and that's why I'm here, because when you put 5 dogs together, you have a pack, and they start killing each other. I don't care how much they like each other. And we have people that are going to bring in strange, just very quickly, dogs don't like new strange dogs, and they have their own pack, their own family, and they're great together. But when you start bringing in a lot of dogs, you have problems. We have a lot of pit bulls, of course. You just cannot mix.
What about little dogs?
And
No, Phyllis, I was just... no,
even
Phyllis.
even with that, the noise.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Cardenas.
I'm compelled to ask this question. Half the council is termed out in the next 3 years. Is there anything we can learn from this pack mentality so that we don't fight so much?
You're probably seeing it at its maximum now.
I got off on a tangent, I'm sorry.
Okay, explain the T-shirt. Don't start his time yet.
Okay, we will. Hi, our council members, Rick Otterstrom. I am wearing my classic AGLA T-shirt, which I'm sure AGLA could provide for each of you if you were so inclined to wear them.
No, I'm not asking.
But today, I'm not representing AGLA, I'm representing the Realtors of Greater Los Angeles.
Okay, now start
Now
his
you
time.
start my time. So I'm here for the Realtors of Greater Los Angeles, and I have to say that of the over 25,000 realtors in Greater Los Angeles, many of them in the course of their business acquire small apartment buildings or commercial buildings, and they are landlords. But more than that, almost all realtors eventually end up selling to mom-and-pop type buyers, small income properties, most of which are residential income properties. And as you know, in the city of Los Angeles, most of those are covered by rent control because they're the older buildings. They're really the true low-cost housing. And those owners are not sophisticated. They don't, whether they're realtors or clients, they don't intend to become huge apartment owners, and they don't understand pass-throughs and the rigmarole they have to go through for that. They depend on the yearly rent raise. The 3% floor is extremely important to them. It'd be nice if it was more than 3%, but it should never be less than the 3% because that's what keeps them afloat. When you divide it out between all the years, and their costs are typically more than the average cost of living. The cost of running an apartment building is not equated to the cost of living, national cost of living. So they need that floor. Please do not consider lowering or eliminating that floor. And if anything, bring it up another point or two so they can survive these tough times.
Thank you. Thank you, Ricky. Good to see you. It's been a while. Okay, we've got 4 cards left, and I have 4 seats, so we're going to invite everybody to come up. Noel Weiss, Mr. Woods, Davin Corona, Deborah Burton. Noel, you're first.
Thank you.
Morning.
Chairman Messon, good morning. I would just say that if there are any apartment owners who want to get out of the apartment rental business, I again would offer TOPA, Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act, as an alternative. I think my concern, Herb, and the committee is that we are looking too much to divide this community rather than to try to find principles that unite. Issues such as rent subsidy possibility, issues such as, for example, I've mentioned the fact that you have 600,000 tenants, maybe a couple of dollars, $2.50 per year, going into a fund that the small apartment owner can basically tap into to possibly meet some of the expenses. We also need, Herb and committee, we need data. You don't know what the vacancy rate is. You don't know what the economics of running these buildings are. You don't have the information that you really need as a policy-making body to make these decisions. You've got to get access to that data. One of the things, again, I've had this discussion with Mr. Reyes on a continuing basis. Maybe someday hope springs eternal, but we'll have on the SB 1818 issues, and that involves housing, an opportunity to find out how much we are destroying affordable housing versus creating by virtue of this SB 1818 ordinance, and whether or not it needs to be revised. But I think you need, in connection with this committee also, data relative to how your city entities are performing. Mr. Reyes has an item on his agenda, although it's not regularly used, but I think it's at least we're part of the way there. You should have it to Herb, as well, and that is have an agenda item that the housing department comes in, talk about success stories, talk about problems. Have the people have an opportunity. This is what we had a little bit of it today, but how can the housing department do better? We have an issue with affordable housing. We have reconcilable, the differences are reconcilable, but there's a conflicting economic interest. Your job is to basically try to find a way to find that overlap and live in it and basically make it happen for the people. I think you can do that.
Okay, thank you. And no, I did ask, I took your recommendation and asked that it be vetted, so hopefully I'll get some data back where it relates to the small $2, $3, whatever. We've just been joined by Council Member Alarcon. That brings us to Mr. Woods.
Good morning, Mr. Wesson and members. I have a big serious problem here. I hear how these landlords talking about they cannot afford this, they want to buy that. My rent just went up $30. Our president had already put, matter of fact, I'm going to say I'm a vet. The thing is, I can't understand how these people can sit here and talk about they need this, they need that. When you have your landlord people at the same time and their rent is going up, you're making people homeless. You are making people homeless because they want to go on vacation, they want to buy another apartment. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But right now, the way the economy is, how can you turn around and make the small peoples pay for this? How can you wind up giving them a raise and the people that's working, they wind up with 5 days, now they got 4 days, then they got 3 days, then they laid off. Special interest people should not be getting no benefit right about now. If anybody should be getting bailed out, it's the people that is paying rent, not making more people homeless. I've been homeless before. $30, that's a lot of money. I know half of these people here, there's landlord that been on vacation. People cannot go on vacation now. And I can't understand how in the world can y'all sit up here, Miss Perry.
No, come on, wait. No,
I just want to say
wait. No, I don't do, that doesn't happen.
Okay.
That does not happen.
I just had, I'm sorry.
The only person.
I'm sorry.
You can call my name.
Right.
Not any of the members.
Fine. I just want to say, please, give us a break. We hadn't got bailed out. We need a bailout, sir. And by jacking our rent up, you should take Mr. Alarcon moratorium and let it be so we don't wind up with another rent increase, sir. Please.
Thank you. Mr. Alarcon just said that, corrected me. We will allow you to identify council members if it's good stuff. Okay, that's just what.
I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
And of course I will.
Okay.
Davin and your daughter. Good to see you.
Hey, good morning, y'all. Good to see you all back from break. So I think we're back here again, and I think there's not much to say. I think we've spent over $1 million on a rent study. We've had lots of info. And I think it's time now to take some action. And I know that a lot of us who are tenants were trying to get a moratorium passed on rent increases because of what Mr. Woods specifically just said. Over 60% of LA's population is tenants. A lot of us are working class. If you look at the housing element, a lot of us are working just to survive. And so we're here because we're looking for a series of reforms. We know it's going to happen soon, and we're looking to be a part of that process. We know that it's going to be something where it's going to be difficult to listen to both sides, but I think we're going to have to sit down and actually do something about it. And I don't need to say much. I think you've heard the stories. I think you know the anecdotal stories around people, being evicted, people not being able to pay rents, people's rents going up. Just $500 an extra year now that I have to pay for rent for the entire year, and it's money that adds up. So I'm just going to be plain and simple and short. We're looking to working with y'all to figure out what these reforms are going to look like, and I'm not going to sit here and say that there's a side that we're looking for. We're part of the tenant side, and we want to make sure that there's some really good reforms that really help tenants. So I'm going to leave it plain and simple. That's it, and thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Burton.
Okay, my name is Deborah Burton. I'm with the Los Angeles Community Action Network. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. Just to extend a little further on it, you had a promise to have this on your agenda for September the 22nd. Will that be possible?
At this point, it looks like we will be on schedule.
Okay, that's it.
Oh, okay. You can come anytime. All right, thank you all. Okay, now, we have several items that are on the consent calendar, and so I'll have the CLA read them, and if members have a question, just mention it and I'll hold the item. Okay, let's start off with item 3.
Item number 3 is a communication from the mayor relative to the withdrawal of the appointment of Mr. Shai Schwartz to the Rent Adjustment Commission.
Okay.
Item number 4 is the CRA and CLA report and joint resolution relative to transfer of funds to the Department of General Services. This is for construction and sidewalk and landscaping improvements throughout the Bunker Hill redevelopment project area. Item number 5 is the CRA report and CAO report. This is relative to a co-op agreement with Department of General Services Asset Management Division to provide as-needed professional real estate services in the amount of $3 million for acquisition of real property and not to exceed $7 million total.
Okay, I'm going to give you a break. So on those items, without objection, they will be deemed approved. Now that brings us to item 6, right?
Item 6 is a CRA and CAO report and a joint resolution. This is relative to providing up to $300,000 to the Department of General Services Construction Forces Division. This is for sidewalk repairs and related public improvements for Phase 1 of the eastern portion of the Normandy 5 redevelopment project area.
They will adopt the CAO report on that item. That brings us to item 7.
Item 7 is CRA and CLA report. This is relative to authority to implement the South LA Exterior Residential Rehab Pilot Program. This is for an amount not to exceed $1.9 million in the Crenshaw Slauson, Expo University Park, Broadway, Manchester, Normandy 5, Vermont, Manchester, and Western Slauson redevelopment project areas.
So we'll adopt the CLA report on that, item 8.
Number 8, CRA and CAO report. This is relative to acquiring real property located at 303 Pacific Avenue in San Pedro. This is an amount not to exceed $880,000.
Okay, we'll adopt the CAO report on item 8. Item 9.
CRA and CAO report relative to a contract with a rep for an amount up to $192,000. This is for a carbon master plan and green building retrofit program in Wilshire, Center Koreatown redevelopment project area.
Okay, we'll adopt the CAO report on that item. That brings us to 10, I believe.
Los Angeles Housing Department and CAO report and resolution relative to the adoption of resolution and the minutes of the TEFRA public hearing. This is for the issuance of tax-exempt bonds for the Tres Lomas Garden Apartments in L.A.
Okay, we'll adopt the CAO report and the resolution. Item 11.
LHD and CAO reports. This is relative to amendment of professional services and contracts and appropriation of funds related to the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation grant. Contracts are with Coalition for Economic Survival and the California Housing Partnership Corporation.
Okay, we'll adopt the CAO report on that. Item 12.
Item 12 is a CDD and CAO report. This is relative to execution of a $14.6 million Section 108 city contract with HUD. This is to assist the One Santa Fe mixed-use project located in 100 to 300 Santa Fe Avenue.
Okay, we'll adopt the CAO report on that. Item 13.
This item is in council on 9/10/10, and this is CDD report relative to the acceptance of traffic safety grant funding from the State of California Business Transportation and Housing Agency, Office of Traffic Safety for Child Passenger Safety Program.
Okay, we'll adopt the CDD report on that. That brings us to item 14. Wait, on item 14? Okay, why don't you read the item?
14?
Yes, just read
14 is motion Perry Parks. This is relative to a float loan, promissory note, and various actions related to funding for the development costs of the Hope Street Family Center. This is by the California Hospital Medical Center.
Okay, Mr. Cardenas, you had a question?
For the department, yeah.
For the department on that item, if you could come forward.
For the 15, or come back to that?
No, we've got somebody, public comment on item 15 as well.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning. I have a question about, two questions. One of them is has the CRA, for the Ford Hotel float loan, has it been repaid?
Yes, it has been repaid.
Oh, okay. Which leads to my next question. It's my understanding, and appropriately so, the Housing Department, CRA, CDD, et cetera, are now starting to communicate with each other better when it comes to the various departments understanding previous and current activity with participants on programs or loans or grants of previous relationships with particular developers, property owners, businesses, et cetera. And like I said, rightfully so, the left hand should be talking to the right hand. But my specific questions are, when it comes to CDD, and you get an application of sorts, whether it's a grant or some kind of loan opportunity from, say, a property owner or a developer who owns various properties within the city, and then you realize by talking to the Housing Department or CRA that they have a loan that's outstanding. Now, the status of that particular activity is relevant now, apparently, as to whether or not you're going to do business with them on that application that they have, perhaps to access capital through the CDD. Let me give you some examples on how would you handle them in general. And I'm not going to give names of developers or anything. This is just for me to understand how you handle it. So if, for example, somebody applies to CDD and they happen to have a loan over at Housing or CRA that's not current, in other words, their payments aren't current, would that affect their application potentially with CDD?
Yes. They have to be in good standing with the city.
Okay. They have to be in good standing with the city. Now, say, for example, you have a not-for-profit or a developer of sorts, and they're, again, applying for a grant or loan with CDD, and say 2 years ago, they had a loan that one of the other departments, say the Housing Department, there was a $1.2 million loan. It's a not-for-profit, and for some reason, they were in the rears, they got behind or what have you. There was a motion of the council, and then all of a sudden, through the process, that $1.2 million loan was forgiven. It's 2 years ago. Now, on that example, and then all of a sudden they apply now, 2 years later, is that taken into account that they were in the rears, they couldn't get caught up, and then we made a policy decision to actually forgive that situation? But remember, they were not current. How would that affect an application today?
Okay, this sounds like a trick question, but I'll give it my best answer. They will be in good, if
because they're technically in good standing today.
Yeah. So
but when you look at the track
standing
record, like a credit report, they're showing that 2 years ago, they were 30 days behind, 60 days behind, 90 days behind. So that would affect their loan ability or their relationship or their ability to pay.
Right.
Based on their previous activities. So how would you handle that?
So it would be on two criteria. One would be the first blush, if they are in good standing. So if they meet that criteria. The second would be the actual underwriting of the organization currently. And the underwriting of the current project will look at all of the factors. And given the economic times that we're in, they are mitigating factors to almost every loan application that we receive right now. So it would be actually underwritten under current economic conditions.
So basically, it appears that the stronger aspect that would be looked at is the fact that they currently are in good standing.
Right.
Even though they were in such bad standing just in the last 24 months that not only did we believe that they couldn't make the payments anymore, it was so bad that we said, you know what, why fight it? Let's just forgive it. Right.
And there's only in one instance that we won't move forward, and that would be if they were on a debarred list of some sorts, that they in some way the city said we're not doing business with them at all. And we generally, in terms of checking the good standing, is work with our city attorney's office and CAO's office.
Now that debarred list, you're just using a figure of speech, I presume. That list. That list is kept internally, it is made public, it is kept in the city attorney's office, it's shared only with the department head in the city attorney's office. Is it shared with this committee? Is it updated every 3 months? Is it a current copy given to the policymakers once a month? That supposed list or that egregious situation list.
Right.
What happens there?
I would refer that to the CAO's office in terms of of a list. I don't know who actually maintains that.
So it's not
list and-
necessarily a list per
of-
se, it's basically organizations that red flags show up when they try to re-enter our system and try to do business with the city again.
Exactly.
Okay. Since your department, I would imagine, has to interact with that list, I would like you to either apprise the committee as to how you interact with that or how you go about finding out when an applicant is applicable to that list or not. Or you can just come to my office and tell me. I don't know if anybody else is interested, but I'm definitely interested.
Okay.
So my last scenario and question, Mr. Chairman, is this. Say a loan was not current, say 18 months ago, and it was cured by taking the principal and the interest that was in the rears and repackaging that. Again, an entity that obviously proved that they got into a situation where they couldn't make their obligation to either CDD, housing, CRA, or one of the city family departments, and then all of a sudden it was cured by basically forgiving that situation and starting over. If that organization is not current today, then it appears by your previous answer that that would really affect their application of today for a new process.
Yes, sir.
Okay? But if they are current today, then it appears that the overriding factor is the fact that since that was cured in that manner, and it appears that they're current today, is very likely that they're not going to have a negative situation when it comes to the new application on that note.
Right. And again, we look at, in terms of the underwriting, all of the factors, but the main factor is that they are current on to all city loans.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. With that said, we'll adopt the motion, and that brings us to item, in fact, before we go to item 15, and I can ask Ms. Lopez to begin to come forward, because I know she's put a card on this. On item 3, I've been told that I need to say that we will receive and file the communication from the mayor. And on item 4, the adopt the CLA report. Item 5, adopt the CAO report. Okay. Good morning. How are you? Wait 1 second. Ivania, read the item.
Item 15 is motion Perry Rosenthal. This is relative to LAHD, Planning Department, Cultural Affairs Department, and City Attorney to report on the feasibility of creating a new program to allow artists who reside in the Artist District to remain in their homes and workspaces and to provide additional housing options to artists who wish to relocate to the Artist District.
Now.
Council members, good morning. Estela Lopez, Executive Director of the Central City East Association. Just very briefly, CCEA, as you know, administers the Arts District BID, and we are here because of our interest in this study and our support of it. And there are several property owners, in fact, members of our board of the BID, with over 30 years' experience in developing and providing affordable housing for artists. And so my presence here today is just simply to say that these property owners, to the extent possible, would like to make themselves available to the departments to provide their technical expertise and their experience in developing this sort of housing. So that's really my statement. I want to, on their behalf, make them available to the departments for whatever resource and experience they can provide.
Thank you. Good to see you. And
My pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Without objection, we'll adopt that motion. That brings us to items 1 and 2. If we could do these items combined, Mr. City Attorney. So if you'd read it, Ivania, let's
Sure. Item
to these commissioners.
Sure. Item number 1 is a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Mr. Francisco De Vivo to the IDA, Industrial Development Authority, for the term ending June 30th, 2012. Item number 2 is a communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Mr. James E. Zafaris. This is to the Industrial Development Authority as well for the appointment ending June 30th, 2013.
If I could ask both gentlemen to come forward. Good to see you. Please take a seat. So I know one is an appointment, one is a reappointment. The appointment is Mr. De Vivo?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I have been doing economic development for over 15 years since I arrived in this country from native Colombia. I must say that coming from a country where the banking industry was only a privilege to the privileged classes, I was highly impacted to see that here anybody had access to the banking and the lending institutions. I saw a tremendous opportunity to work in these underserved communities, basically, in providing access to capital. So I have learned throughout the years that there is many small business and medium business owners that qualify. They just don't have the information, the knowledge, and I have been doing that for the last 15 years. I feel this is a good match for what I have had the honor to being nominated, and I'm looking forward to keep doing it.
Okay, thank you. Now, you said that you've been here for 15 years and you're from Colombia?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I'm going to try to get in touch with you. I'd like to have an offline discussion that has nothing to do with this committee. I'm a sports buff, and they have a program on ESPN called 30-30, and there was each one of them is very good. And they talked about the Escobars or something, where it relates to soccer and what I'd like to just have you explain to me what it was really like, because I wanted to ask somebody, but I didn't know anybody. So now it's a pleasure to meet you, so maybe I'll give you a call. No, it's a very intriguing and interesting piece, you know, about soccer and things. It was just very, how they go from the top to the... Okay, well, anyway, I have no questions for you on this topic. We've seen 214,
Yeah, 2000.
right? Yeah, no, I just, and if you guys, I mean, I'm telling you, these 30-30s are remarkable. Okay, James, good to see you again.
Good
You're
morning.
the reappointment. I'll let you have your moment of glory as well.
Well, I'm a lifelong Angelino.
So I'm not going to support. You don't have I don't need to know about Los Angeles. I need to know what Francisco's not.
Well,
Go right ahead.
Well, I'm a proud graduate of Fairfax High School. So
Okay.
I've spent my whole life in and around downtown Los Angeles, involved in the business community. Realize the struggles that business people are up against when they're trying to especially grow business or start new businesses, and that's one reason I'm thrilled to be involved in the Industrial Development Authority. And I think it's important for, you know, the vibrance of the community to have a strong business community where we employ people and, you know, make it a better Los Angeles.
Thank you. Any questions? Francisco, Andrew, could you get his phone number for me, please? You guys think I'm joking. I would like to maybe sit down and have a cup of tea with you and talk about it. Okay, if there are no questions or concerns, and without objection, we will recommend your appointment to the full city council, which occurs today in a half hour. Anyway, thanks, everybody. Avanya, any more business before this committee?
No, we are
Then this
completed
committee.
the agenda.
Thank you.